Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I made a little tabletop and I want to cover it with resin. So I thought I'd first introduce the resin I'm gonna use to you and give you a minute or two of details. Afterwards I'm gonna mix it and also apply it, and I all gonna combine it into one video. So MasterCast is an epoxy resin. It is non-toxic, non-yellowing, 2 components with a 1:1 mixing ratio. It has a 10 to 15 minutes working time. The minimum amount that should be mixed is not under 20 grams, and I think up to 4 kilos or something like that. Resin gets activated by heat. It generates heat when you start mixing it together, but also depending in the volume. So if you have a lot of resin, it will generate a lot of heat. And if you have little resin, it might generate less heat. But also keep in mind, if you have little resin in a little container, it still has a high density and therefore produces a lot of heat, which also speeds up the curing again. I want to do a very thin layer of resin, so that is where I might get in trouble a bit, because when it's thin it cools down very quickly and it might not cure properly, but I'm gonna help that with applying some heat or heat up my room. It has high build-up properties and therefore it's also very good for jewelry. Alternative for MasterCast are Total Cast, which is more or less the same price, or art resin, which is much pricier, but all these three are non-toxic variants. Welcome back everyone. So I moved my little table and everything into the bathroom, so I'm sorry for the possible background and for the echo, but that's the only room that I can heat up a bit, and it shouldn't be too cold if you apply resin. I did calculate a lot with the resin calculator and in the internet, which would say I need 0.2 milliliter per square centimeter. I don't want to do that. Like I said, I want to take today the risk of doing a very thin layer and with much less resin. So I'm going to use 90 milliliters for a 25 by 30 and just see how far it brings me. I'm gonna equally mix the resin parts now, and a trick that I learned in the internet is to apply a very thin layer of varnish, which needs to dry again, of course, before applying the resin. It's not necessary, but what it does avoid is, in case there's still air bubbles coming from below, which could also happen with a canvas, of course, they will get stuck at the varnish layer and not go into the resin. Another thing is also I'm gonna wear multiple gloves, because then I can take them off if I need to use the torch, and if I need to put some more resin again, I have another layer, because I want to try to also distribute it with my hands, that I can really feel how thick it is. Okay, so very uncomfortable here, but let's give it a go. Okay, it's 3 minutes later. I stirred up the resin. There's absolutely no smell, but for people who are sensitive to resin, you could try, except gloves and masks of course, to cover your skin that is exposed with a thick fatty cream, because it will close the pores, so there is less chance for contact with your skin. Okay, 3 layers of gloves, that's quite tricky, but okay. There is quite some bubbles in the resin, and I really tried to not stir too much, but yeah, that's why we have the torch, so let's give it a go. One last stir, take everything away. And let's see if we can make this work. Ooh. Well, that should be more than enough actually. I'm really hoping to cover this kind of things with less resin. But we'll see. So I'm going to try to reuse this little cup here. So what I'm going to do is grab as much resin as possible to one side and stick the stick in like that. Can you see that? Yeah. And that hopefully can take it off. Put it somewhere. Hopefully it stays there. Alright. Ooh, it's slimy. Well, I was actually worried about the 10 to 15 minutes working time, but yeah, it's already on there, basically. And it is self-leveling, so... Ooh, no, it went under the tape. That's not cool. Okay, it's a little something. And already now I see not a lot of bubbles, but I also had metallics. So perhaps now I'm going to take off one layer of my gloves and get my torch. Well, you can see that there's something popping. So even if I now at the first glance didn't see it a lot, there are bubbles, sorry. That was Dutch. And you should come back also like 10 minutes later to do that again. Yeah, don't burn the resin. And I prefer to have 1 or 2 air bubbles instead of getting all this burned. What I see now is, I think, one little hair in there or something. But yeah, I have 4 cats, so it's quite unavoidable, I think. Beautiful. Okay. If you now have too much silicone holes in there, you can massage a drop of silicone in there. At that point, really with your fingers, that it will dissolve in the resin. And then also not get, also close down the hole. Okay, that looks good. So there is a really nice thin layer. It's not like, ooh, too thin. It looks really nice, actually. So gonna leave it like that and torch it again in a few minutes. So I just quickly wanted to change the position of the camera to let you see how nice it is reflecting and how nice it looks, because you couldn't really see it. But yeah, you see the nice layer with the glare from the window and how it built up at the side. Really, really shiny. So far it's probably 5-6 minutes. It's not any holes. Yeah, I don't really see any bubbles, but I'm gonna be coming back to torch one more time. And I'm really impressed with this stuff, because I thought it would be much more complicated. And it's absolutely not smelling, and yeah, apparently you can do with less than given in the online calculators. So back in 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back. So what do I see after the 10 minutes? I see almost no air bubbles, and I see no new air bubbles, and I think that has really to do with sealing it underneath. I see a little bit of dust, but I don't think I want to go in there and take it out, because yeah, this is my table anyway, it's not for a customer or anything. I see one little something, could be a hole from silicone, but I'm not even sure, because of course there's also cells. Yeah, I see some hairs, but yeah, you could take them out still. Okay, one more torch. Do I still see anything popping? There was one air bubble. A little one. And I think that's already it, basically. Yeah, but there is dust in there. So make sure you have a dust-free environment, and you could cover it also with a box or something if it's something that is flat on your table. Yeah, I can't do that. So I think I'm good here. Okay, that was it. Resin used on a nightstand with much lower quantity than advised in the internet on the resin calculators or on the datasheet of MasterCast. And yeah, I'm really happy with it and very pleased. Thanks for watching. Come back, give it a thumbs up, leave a nice comment, and I hope to see you back. Thank you.